Good morning. It's Wednesdays. I'm Wayne. Welcome to Wednesdays with Wayne. Before we get started, as always, the first thing I want to do is thank you for your time. I do that because long ago a friend of mine told me the most valuable thing anyone can give you is their time. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you showing up. I do my best to make sure your time is well spent. Thank you very much. Today what we're going to go into is this. The topic, if you want to give it a name, is going to be how to thrive when the economy goes bust. There's always an opportunity, so please hear me on this, okay? No matter which way the economy goes, it's always a good time to make money. And the way you make money is by being opportunistic, by solving problems. So right now, what I'm hearing and what I'm watching is this. All over the TV, all over the news, it's problem, 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 problem. Hopefully you can see this okay. But on the other side of a problem, there's this. So I said it before, I'll say it again. Being successful, getting rich, having your life the way you want, having everything you want, it's a point of view. It's all a point of view. And some people can only see this. Some people can only see this. Some people see both, because in this is this. If you can just see it. If you can just train your brain to see it. So what I'm suggesting today is that you look for these. It seems counterintuitive, right? Because typically, if you're saying you want to avoid these or figure out how to solve them, well, in this problem, there is an opportunity. So if you look around, you'll see all kinds of problems. And this new meltdown, some companies are gone, they're never coming back. Sears is toast. I mean, the landscape is littered with companies that are gone. Some are not coming back. Some are on the verge of going away forever. Other companies are thriving. So some have problems and some have opportunities. Sears is gone. Kmart's in trouble. Best Buy's in trouble. Macy's is in trouble. The Gap closed 200. I've heard the Gap has closed 230 stores this year. Family Dollar's closing 390. Dress Barnes closing 650. UBS investment firm is saying there'll be another 75,000 retailers closed by 2026. So what you're seeing is this mass transition in society. It's something that's been coming on for years. And if you understand and watch Moore's Law, then you'll see it. And Moore's Law simply states that the size of capacitors, chips, the size of chips and the speed, the size will decrease and the speed will increase and double every 2 years. So it looks like this. Anytime you see this, what you're looking at is an exponential growth curve. And some companies are dying at this rate, and some are growing at this rate. And so you look at the companies that are growing right now, okay? And I made a list of those. You look at Amazon. They've totally taken over. Amazon has totally taken over retail. Uber has taken over the taxi cab industry. There used to be, you get a medallion to own a cab in New York, used to be worth around $1 million. The value has gone to almost zero. Apple and Spotify have taken over music. Netflix has taken over television and movies. Google has taken over data. LinkedIn's taken over job search and hiring. Expedia and TripAdvisor have taken over travel. So industries are changing hands. Wealth is changing hands. So wealth is either leaving your hands or coming into your hands. You have a choice about that. So you can become a victim or you can become a volunteer. There are no victims. There are only volunteers. So, or you can be proactive and get in front of it. So please hear me on this. Every one of you Every one of us has something special to offer. As my mentor, Bucky Fuller, wasn't my mentor. I read his books. I wish he'd been my mentor, but he passed away before I was introduced to his work. But I've read many of his books. I've been studying him for decades. And Bucky was talking about this thing called ephemeralization or leverage, or doing more with less to the point you do everything with nothing. So that's what we're seeing as a society. And technology is making it possible. And technology has leveled the playing field for almost all of us. I mean, look at it. I was going down the highway the other day, and this cute little old lady passed me. She's in this huge SUV, and she's got little hands on the wheel, and all I can see from behind is his little hands, you know. But here's this cute little petite woman. She probably, I don't know, can't see her. You know, you can see the top of her head, from her neck up. Well, she looks rather petite, but she's controlling this 4,000 or 5,000 pound beast, hunk of metal with wheels on it, cruising down the freeway at 80. This is a class, she could never do this by herself, relying on her petite little body. But she gets in this beast and she can work a pedal and hold the steering wheel. So she's doing so much more with so much less. I just moved out of her way. I'm like, oh, look at her. So this is one example of technology. The other one is what we're doing right now. You know, and speaking to, I don't know how many people, hundreds of thousands. Our show's getting over 100,000 views a month. I can't go talk to 100,000 people a month physically, but I can do it with this using technology. So everywhere you look, you're seeing Moore's Law, you're seeing technology, you're seeing us being able to do more with less to the point we do almost everything with nothing. So if you can comprehend this, then your question is, how do I take advantage of this opportunity? So what I do is I look for a problem. If I'm investing, I'm looking for a problem property with a problem seller, because in those two is the opportunity. If I'm selling a product, I'm looking for a problem, okay? And in the problem is the opportunity. And I do my best to solve. So some people's problem is my opportunity. If I solve their problem, typically they pay me. An example of this could be, if you look around your house right now, just look at all the things you bought. Most of them you bought to solve a problem you have. I mean, you want a refrigerator, right? That's to solve the problem of your food rotting. You've got an air conditioning system, right? HVAC. So you get too cold, you flip a switch, the heat comes on. You get too hot, you flip a switch, the cold air comes on. You totally control your environment. It gets too light, if it gets too light, you turn off the lights. If it gets too dark, you turn on the lights. You want news, drama, entertainment, watch television. I mean, if you look at everything you have, ovens, cooktops, microwaves, lighting, air conditioning, refrigeration, cookware, crockery, cutlery, as they call it down under. You get all these things that we typically bought to solve a problem that we have. You probably own a vehicle or two. Most garages now are 3 and 4. Our parents or grandparents didn't even have them. That's to solve the problem of transportation. I mean, who owns a horse and uses it for transportation to work every day? Right, hardly anybody. So what I'm talking about is how technology is changing the world for all of us. That's one. Two is, as Bucky Fuller would say, we all arrived here with a gift. And what the public education does is it teaches us how to become employees, not employers. It tells how to get they tell us how to get a good job, not how to build a good business. And ladies and gentlemen, all I'm suggesting right now is if you've been laid off or furloughed or however they want to dress it up in cute language to make it feel better. If you've been freaking fired and you don't have a job anymore, look, there's an opportunity there for you. That is not a problem. That's an opportunity. It's about time you kiss that job goodbye, because it wasn't any good anyway. So if you didn't like what you're doing and you don't have, or you don't have the job anymore, this might be a great time for you to start your own little business. So how do you do that? Well, it's not as hard as some may think. Here are my suggestions for starting your own business. I've been in sales since I was 16 years old. I've been running a business since I was 19 years old. So I've been doing this for quite a while. And there is nothing more freeing than having, owning, running your own business. I'm telling you, if you want to be free, go start a business. And the key to starting a business is to have a product people will pay for, a product or a service that people will pay for. And then you put your team together. And most people won't do this because we haven't been given the proper education. We've been given employee education. How to get or keep a job. No, it's how to get or keep employees. How to get or keep customers. How to get or keep a strategic advantage. How to take advantage of opportunities. How to see openings in the marketplace we can exploit. What does the marketplace want? I mean, the old adage of sales is find a need and fill it. Find out what people want or need and provide it. The world is clamoring for goods and services. If you look at the U.S., we're a capitalist society. But if you don't understand capital, you're in trouble. And a capitalist society is built on capitalism. The production and consumption of goods and services. I mean, look at it like this. If it's okay, let me just give you a different point of view. This is what I see. What I see is these people on TV, these financial gurus, wizards, talk show hosts, talking about the economy is improving. Well, right to that, what do they say? Consumer spending is up. Consumer spending is up. Consumer spending is up. Think about it. So the economy is improving. Why don't they say consumer investing is up? Why don't they say consumer saving is up? Why is it consumer spending? So why is that? Why is it that when we transition from a society that paid cash for everything, our grandparents, most of them, abhorred debt. Their goal, get out of debt. Don't take on debt, and if you do, get rid of it as fast. Pay off your house. Well, right now, people aren't paying off their houses. They're buying houses at a record pace. Why? Because money's cheap and plentiful. So this is what I'm talking about. We need a technical education, a business education, and a financial education. Not an employee education. Because what used to be safe is now risky. And what used to look risky is now safe. And what used to look safe was safe, secure job. Those days are over. They're gone. They're not coming back. And why would people get a safe, secure job? So they could get a pension. Well, guess what? Those pensions are gone too. Because you understand the ERISA Act, there. You can Google this. What happened was they started Social Security in 1933. When was retirement pegged in America? 1933. When did you quit your job for good and go on government dole, government welfare, Social Security? Age 65. Why that age? It's when you're supposed to be dead. So we're all supposed to die at 65. Government looks around and says, well, I can't pay them all anyway. Let's just go, let's see, when will they all be dead? 65. 65 it is. We're not supposed to be here. But due to technology, we're living longer and healthier lives. So we're going to outlive those pensions. So these corporations got together in the mid-70s and said, oh my God, look at this. We're going to have to pay them. Huh? We're going to have to pay them? You mean the former employees who used to work here, who don't work here anymore? Yeah, them. We got to pay them? Yeah, you got to pay them. How do we do that? Pensions. Oh my goodness, that won't do. So they got rid of them. These are defined benefit pension plans. Defined benefit. They're no longer in existence. There may be a few still lingering out there they haven't gotten rid of yet, but the new ones are defined contribution. There's no defined benefit pension plan. They don't want to define the benefit because we're going to outlive them. So Social Security is not going to last, as everybody knows, and your pensions aren't going to last. So they made this defined contribution. simply known as this. So to me, your best bet, starting your own business. And you're better off losing everything. Please hear me on this. And what if I lose my money? Holy mackerel, so what? Think how much you learn. You're better off losing everything and learning than hanging on to a safe, secure job and learning nothing. You're better off losing it all. Because once, I don't know, because I did it. I'm speaking from experience right now. Because in the mid-'80s, I lost it all. Now, I'm not suggesting everybody go do this, because it's not for everyone. But if you want to accelerate your learning, and it was a royal pandemic. I mean, it was technically not a pandemic, but it was an economic tsunami. First was oil in the early 80s, then it was real estate in the mid-'80s, then it was stocks, the stock market later in the 80s. So 83, 85, 87, those three industries crashed. So if you were in Texas and you were playing in as a capitalist in any level, chances are you got your hat handed to you. So a lot of people won and made a bunch of money, and a lot of people learned. And I found myself on the learning team. But I decided right then, I said, this is it. It's all gone, but it's not gone for good. So what am I going to do? I need to get a better education. My school system did not prepare me for the world of real estate or finance. I'm in a capitalist society. I needed to know more about the subjects of business and finance. So if you're okay with that, I'll go into it right now. And this is what I look for when I'll tell you exactly what Lynn and I did, okay? I'll tell you the story right now. Here's what happened. In 2008, the mortgage markets froze, as you probably remember. We had a financial meltdown. So what happens is we have this thing called an economic recovery. So we've transitioned, as I was saying, from a society that pays cash for everything to a society that borrows from us everything. So since people don't have a financial education, they don't understand credit, what they do is follow some stupid advice like cut up all your credit cards and pay cash for everything. Well, that's not very smart, because you need credit if you're going to be in a capitalist society. You need to have good credit. You get good credit by charging and paying it back. You go into debt, you pay the debt. You go into debt, you pay the debt. You go into debt, you pay the debt. Your credit score goes up. But many people don't have a financial education. I don't know about you, I left school not knowing how to balance a checkbook. It's ridiculous. So that whole system needs to be thrown in the trash and started over. They're lacking in science, technology, math, all the main, most important subjects. We're lacking the world in spite of the billions we spend on education. So that thing needs an overhaul, but that's a conversation for another day. Today, what we're going to talk about is what can one person do to start their own business. So what happens is, since people don't have credit and don't understand credit, they abuse credit. They misuse credit. Next thing you know, they don't have any credit. So they keep buying anyway, because we're a nation of consumers. The definition of economic recovery, consumer spending is up. The problem is most people don't have cash anymore. They pay credit. They charge everything. Even when they don't have the money to pay for it, they buy it. You know why? Because this is America. And it's not how much, it's how much a month. If you make me like it, and you show me a way to cram it in my budget, I'll take it. Because it's only a little a month. So when people buy stuff that they don't need, when people don't have money, and they borrow money they don't have, like using a credit card, to buy stuff they don't need, to impress people they don't know, it's an economic recovery. That's my definition. To the financiers and the gurus and the wizards out there, consumer spending is up. So look, my point is consumers are spending at a crazy pace. So all you got to do is go find out something that they want and make it or offer it to them, be it a product or a service. So, if you were born a genius, which you were, and meant to be an incredible success, which you were, all you have to do is go find a problem and solve it. So how do you do that? Well, I was watching news the other day, excuse me, and I see that Zoom has a new product called On Zoom. Now think about this. This is the coolest thing I've seen in quite a while. On Zoom. Your own TV show. You can do exactly what I'm doing right now with a laptop. Put your little camera on there, turn it on, click it, boom. Do this in front of millions of people. So what little product or service do you know of, do you have? What are you really, really good at? What innate skill or trait, characteristic do you have that other people might benefit from? And if they benefit from, might be willing to pay you a few bucks for. And the more people you get, see, it's not how much you make, it's how many times you sell it. So here's what I look for. When you're going to start this, the first thing is you look for a problem, as I said right here. Look for a problem, you'll see the opportunity. The opportunity has a business name, and the name is niche, or as they say down under, niche. It's an untouched, untapped segment of the market. So you're going to see a niche all over the place. Windows of opportunity will open and they will close. And you got to know when to get in and when to get out. So if you look for a problem, you'll see a niche. So this is what happened in 2008. Because people were borrowing these, taking advantage of these really, really low rates. As I said before, if you pay too much and borrow too much on your property, there's nothing anyone can do for you. And that's what happened. So the linchpin in this whole financial meltdown in 2008 was Moody's Investor Services and the organizations that rate the underlying asset. And Moody's and these other guys rated all that subprime nonsense, those junk loans, as AAA. And they sold them around the world. And what most of the world knows is American real estate is a pretty safe bet. Typically, Americans pay the mortgages, and typically real estate goes up in value. It's one of the best investments you can make. That's why people all over the world invest here. The problem is they lied about the value of their underlying asset. They lied. The truth is they should have gone to jail. Because if the appraiser doesn't appraise your house, if you go to buy a house, your lender's going to hire an appraiser. And the appraiser's going to go out and attach value to that asset. And they're going to tell the lender what it's worth. Based on that, the lender will loan you a percentage of that value. Sometimes as much as 80, sometimes as much as 90%. Because they're collateralized by the property. Now, if you read your note, your deed of trust, and your all your closing documents, you'll see that's not your house. That's the lender's house. And they're going to keep it till you pay off that deed. You pay off that note, you get that deed, you've now got ownership. So people are buying payments. They're not buying houses. They're not buying the loan. They're buying the payment because it's not how much, it's how much a month. So the lower the interest rate gets, the lower the payment gets. That drives that market. Rates go up 2 or 3 percentage points, this market will stop dead in its tracks because the homes become unaffordable. It's all about affordability, how much a month. So if we got this consumer base that's consuming and their deal is how much a month, then what happens? They tend to overspend. So they buy all these houses they can't afford. They buy them on a low interest rate. A lot of them bought these ARMs, or adjustable rate mortgages. So it starts off at 2%, then it goes to 3%, then it goes to 4%, then it goes to 5%, then they can't afford the house anymore, and they give them all back. So the mortgage market melts down. My wife and I own a real estate education company. We sell licensing courses for realtors. We teach them how to get a license, then we teach them how to use it. So, this is what happens. The mortgage markets, when the meltdown occurred, they stopped lending money. If the consumers can't borrow money, they can't buy houses. If realtors can't buy houses, guess what? If people can't buy houses, realtors can't sell them. If realtors can't sell houses, they don't make any money. So buyers can't buy houses. Realtors can't sell houses. If they can't sell houses, they're not buying real estate courses. All of a sudden, a business goes from a flourishing, thriving enterprise that's got really good cash flow, really good database, really good market position, and doing quite well. And suddenly it starts to drop and drop and drop and drop. And it goes down to about, it's off 65%. So my wife and I are looking at each other going, this simply won't do. But what do we do? So we start reading the paper. It's the most hilarious thing ever. So she's driving into town to run some errands or something, I forget. And I was at home. And she heard this thing on the radio, and I read it in the Austin Business Journal. And what it says is, the city of Austin passed a new ordinance. If you live in the city of Austin, and you're an Austin Energy Utility customer, you can't sell your house till you have an energy audit done. Well, what's an energy audit? So they have to do it. So right off the bat, the government creates this. So I called her and said, you wouldn't believe what I just read in the paper. She says, well, before you tell me, can I tell you what I heard on the radio? I said, sure. It's this thing about energy audit. I said, I just read the article. So while she was hearing it, I was reading it. So we connected, we said, we should check into this. So we go down to the city of Austin. We say, what's this thing about the energy audit? They go, oh yeah, this takes effect, this was in October of 2008. This takes effect, it was June or July of the next year, 2010, 2009, I mean, excuse me. So in the fall of, I forget, it was either 8 or 9 when we found out about it, and next year, like 9 months later, it took effect. So I said, well, how does that work? Well, there's this company up in New York, and they have these tests that you put on, that you do. And the first half of the class test is in the classroom, and after they teach you how to run all this sophisticated equipment, you go out into the field and you set up in a house, and you seal off the house, and then you run these tests with all this very sophisticated equipment that tells you how much the ducts are leaking, how much the doors are leaking, how much the windows are leaking, how much your sliding glass doors are leaking, how much everything is leaking. And they tell you how much the house should be sealed and how much it should leak. So it should leak some. You should get about 1/3 of your airflow exchanged every hour is the formula, but it's amazing. Most of these, what we discovered is something we never knew. Most of these air conditioning ducts, most people, 70-80% of the homes out there, they're leaking at least 30-40% of the air. They're heating and cooling their attics. And they never know because they never go up there. I'm going to go up to the attic and get some fresh air. Said no one ever. So we talked to them about this. We said, well, if you got to have this certification to do the energy audits, they said, yeah, you got to be certified by this company. So you can call them. So we called them. We said, what do y'all do? They explained us the same thing. We have test in the classroom and test in the field. Okay, great. Do you have classroom materials? No, we just do the test. You only do the test. Yeah, we only do the test, and we certify people when they pass the test. Well, I said, I've been in education for a while. You can't just give people a test, go here's your test, take this test. You have to teach them the material first, then the test tests their mastery of the subject. So where do you get that? Where do you get the books and the material to teach them how to pass these tests? Oh, that's a different company. Okay, well, who's that? I said, what's his name over there? High Performance Education. I said, whatever the name was. I said, okay, fine. So we called them. You have the material for this certification, this energy officer? Oh, yes, we have the material. Okay. Will you license it to us? Yes. Okay. So we got a licensing agreement from the people who had the material. Then they got a licensing agreement for the people doing the testing. Now we got to figure out, okay, who's going to teach this? Because we don't know anything about it. We've been on hundreds of inspections on real estate properties. First thing you do before you take the property, first of all, become a good listing agent. List, list, list. Fire the buyers who are referring out. Don't ever put a buyer in your car, ever, unless they have address and cash. So work with sellers. First thing you get in with the seller, go to the property, do an analysis, get it on the market, go get it inspected, and then fix everything. Get it inspected, fix everything. Don't give the buyer any reason to negotiate with the seller. Just fix it all. They're going to do an inspection anyway. You might as well do it first. Fix it all. Where does the inspection start? Slab. Where does it stop? Ceiling. Now, nowadays, sometimes they crawl around in the attic, but I can assure you, they don't hook up all the gauges and instrument and test your ducts for leakage. They have no idea. It's not what inspectors do. They're not HVAC trained technicians. They're inspectors. They're really good at what they do. It's really, really hard to get an inspector's license. It's a very difficult job, and it's very detailed. And they need to know a lot about it, a lot of things to get them done. So I have a lot of respect for inspectors. Don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is, when we're brokers and we're inspecting houses and we're hiring inspectors, it starts at the slab and it stops at the roof. So here we are knowing nothing about this business. But what we see is this problem called, it's got to be done by next July, and the city's mandated it, and if you don't have it done, you can't sell your house. So now there's this niche that no one's in. It's wide open, untouched, untapped segment of the market. So that's the first thing we did. We signed a licensing agreement with the certification firm that did the testing. We signed a licensing agreement with the people who had the class materials. And then we called and we said, okay, who do you know that can teach this? These folks are out of state. One's in New York, I think the other one was in Washington. And the guy with the material says, well, there's this guy who lives in this city called, do you ever heard of a city called Round Rock? I said, yeah, that's 10 miles away. He lives in this city called Round Rock. So our instructor lives in Round Rock. So we called the instructor and we hired him. So we put these pieces together. This is how you start a business. First, you find a niche, an untouched, untapped segment of the market. To find that, you look for one of these. If you look for a problem, you'll see the opportunity. You've got to be able to see both sides of this. Where's the problem? Where's the opportunity? What problems are people having right now? Lots. Where's the opportunity? That's your niche. After you get your niche done, after you find your niche, then you do a little of this. So in school, what are we taught to do? Think linearly. Think linear. It's a linear thinking. In business, you've got to think laterally. It's a thought no one's had. Please hear me. A lot of you, many of you, most of you, maybe all of you have had at least once in your life, maybe more, million or multi-million dollar ideas. You've had them. You looked out there, you saw a problem, you saw the opportunity, you saw the niche, and you went, wow, that would make a great product or service. But you didn't do anything about it. Now, how many of you had this experience? That product or service showed up on a shelf somewhere. Right. So see, the difference is someone else took action. So I'm going to encourage you, take action. As I said last week, stop saying no to yourself. Start saying yes to you. And when you have a great idea, go put it into action. Because if you have this original thought, feel blessed. I've been training people for decades. The problem with that is it's really sad. I'm going to say it anyway. It's very sad. Most people have never had an original thought. Sad. But hear me. Again, you're born a genius. You're meant to be an incredible success. You're going to have these thoughts that come out of nowhere. Please don't deny them. Just go, wow, that's interesting. What could I do with that? 2 questions I want you to practice asking yourself. What if and how? What if and how? What if I could take advantage of that? How would I do that? Just start thinking laterally. So here's what we get told. This is an example of lateral thinking. So I gave you an example of a niche. Now I'm going to give you an example of this. We decide we're going to put these people in the classes. We're going to put 20, 30, 40, 50 in there at a time. Of course, the testing center and the people who gave us the materials in the city of Austin all said, you can't do that. You can't do more than 10 in the class at a time. What? What are you talking about? Well, after class, you have to go to the houses and you have to set up the equipment and you have to watch them as they walk and talk you through the process. You can't talk to them during this test. So there's a test in class, we give them the material, then we give them the exam and they pass it. If they don't pass it, they got to take the class again. If they pass it, they go to the field exam. The field exam, we don't talk. The instructors, us, can't talk. We simply watch the user, the student, walk into the house and say, okay, first I'm going to do this, and this means I'm going to seal the door. Then I'm going to do that, seal the window. This is how I'm going to do it. This is the machine. This is how I calibrate it. This is how I set it up. These are the measurements. This is the range. This is what I'm looking for, and this is how I do it. And they turn it on, and if you can see the air is coming out, it can't come out of that vent. It can't come out of that vent because I have them closed. It's leaking out the windows. This is how much it leaks. This is the range of acceptable. This house fails. And they have to walk you through all this. They said it takes 3 hours to do one of those. So theoretically, you can only do 2 a day. So 5-day work week, that's 10 people in a class. You can do a class every other week. So it's 1 week to do the class, next week to do all the in-field tests. 1 week, I went, you're moving like a tranquilized turtle. I'm not doing that. That's going to take forever. Dude, you got 9 months to get these people certified, and you're going to do 10 a month? Are you crazy? That's 20 a month? You're never going to get there. So I said, okay. And this is the other point I want to bring up with you. First, you find a problem or an opportunity. Then, you find a niche. Then, you do some lateral thinking about how you're going to figure it out. Then, you got to apply this principle. If you've been on these calls before, you've seen and heard me talk about this because I talk about it over and over and over because it's the most misused word in all the business. What is it? What do you do next? You've got to apply the principle of leverage. You've got to leverage this thing. So first you find the problem, then you see the opportunity, then you find the niche, then you do some lateral thinking, then you create the product or service, then you leverage the hell out of it. Now how do you leverage it? What does leverage mean? It simply means doing more with less. And there are several ways to do it. There's people, there's money, there's product, there's technology. It goes on and on and on. So all it means is one person can't move a 1,000-pound boulder, but one person with a lever can easily move it. So the different kinds of levers are leverage. In this case, what we said is, we're going to leverage this thing. So what we're going to do is, we're going to hire instructors. And we're not going to be the only people doing the work, because hard work is a highly overrated activity. The key to success is laziness and leverage. Leverage, lazy, lazy, leverage. More with less. So this is what we did. I did this radius around the school, 2 miles. I went to MLS and I looked for every house out there within 2 miles that was vacant. And then I called the listing agent and I said, okay, now I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes. If you don't mind, just listen, because it's going to sound kind of crazy, but when I'm done, I think it'll make sense. Here's my proposal I have for you. You have a vacant house. I don't know, have you heard about the new energy audit? Yeah, you got to have one to get your house sold, right? Have you had one? No. Here's my deal. Here's my deal. Here's my proposal. We need houses to test. We'd like to use your client's house. Since we're not moving in, we're not moving out. So you never take it off the market. Keep your sign up, keep your lockbox up. Let us test it. We'll be in there 5 days a week. We'll be in there for 6 hours a day. And then we'll add you to our insurance policy, and we'll throw in a free energy audit, and we'll give them $1,000 a month. And we found 5 houses that we could do this with. 5. Then we started filling classes. So then we started marketing the event. So marketed the courses. Sure enough, we put 40, 50 people in the room, and we did one room, then the next week in the field, next week in class, next week in the field, next week in class, next week in the field. And we leveraged the hilt out of that thing, okay? So then we hired 5 instructors. We said, you guys want to make some extra money? Yeah. So within 18 months, we put over 450 people through the program at $1,800 a head. And that's how we saved our company. Within 18 months, we put 450 people through the program at $1,800 a head. In the financial meltdown, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, it came back. So that's how you start a business. Okay? You find a problem or an opportunity. Then you go find your niche. Then you got to do some lateral thinking. And then you leverage it. Then you have marketing, sales, and all this. So what can you do? What can you personally do with this information? Well, what problem do you see, if any? You can always email me. Don't tell me what the product or service is if you feel uncomfortable. But you can trust me. I'll have a fiduciary relationship with you. So what you say to me will stay totally confidential. If you want advice that we can help you, walk you through this, I'm happy to do that. But what you can do is go find a problem and opportunity. Just look around. They're everywhere. You see businesses popping up everywhere. So what skill do you have? What do you do that other people find it hard to do? What are you really good at? Something you love to do that you could monetize. Then all you got to do is jump on your laptop right now and download the Zoom app. Go to On Zoom and start researching it. Do a little bit of market research. Now, how big is this niche? I don't know. Go do some of this and find out. What's the size of the market for the idea that you have? How many potential customers are out there? How many have been bought or sold in the past decade, 5 years, last year, so far this year? What's the size of that niche? Is it big or is it small? What's the potential? How do you leverage it? Is it opening or closing? Is it empty or full? Laptop computers, 1985, Steve Jobs. Computers, not laptops, I misspoke, I apologize. Computers. The first Mac failed. It was the Apple Macintosh 2 that actually hit because it was in too early. It was in a little too early. The timing has to be right. It was in a little early. This is the same thing happened to Lynn and I in 2000. We went to East Austin. We started buying lots for $20,000. Then we'd buy a farmhouse, a house out in a rural area for $5,000. Then we pay a moving company $5,000 to move it onto the property in the middle of the night. Then they put it on a pier and beam foundation. Then we put 40, 50,000 in it, selling for 120, 130 all day long. We were in there way too early. A lot of them got vandalized where we could sell because the area hadn't turned over yet. Now the houses we were paying $20,000 for are $250 to $275. So timing is what? Exactly everything. So you got to pay attention to your timing. You may be too early, you may be too late. Please do your market research. Make sure that niche is big enough to support you. And if that niche is wide open and there's not very many players and you see a high demand, then you got to figure out how you're going to leverage that thing. And one way you leverage it is with the same way I'm doing it right now. I'm talking to you. Got it? So this was Steve Jobs, 1985, computers. That niche was wide open, one of the biggest niches in the history of business. Now right now, is that niche empty or full? It's full, right? Who's buying computers? They're going mobile. It's tablets and mobile and smart devices, smart than what I call smartphones. Old technology that won't let go. It's not a smartphone anymore. It's a mini computer. Apple's still making them. They're getting smaller and more powerful, and smaller and more powerful, and sometimes they get bigger. But the technology, I mean, the Apple Watch is out. Tiny little thing. It's just amazing. So all these opportunities are out there. Now let's say you want to go sell let's say you make a really good burger. How they open up these burger restaurants, I don't know. I mean, how many different ways can you make a hamburger? I don't know. But they keep popping up, these new hamburger places. Let's say that you make a great burger that puts all these other burgers to shame. Well, where would you want to go? Next to a high school or a college, maybe? We got University of Texas. I mean, would that be a good niche? Yeah, maybe. Is it empty or full? Are there any hamburger joints around UT, you think? So you got to do your market research and see how big that niche is and how much the competition is in it. So you got to know what business you're in, what's your product, who's the customer, who's the competition, how big is the niche, and how you're going to leverage it. Make sense? So that's it. That's what you need to know, and that's what you can do as an individual. There are many have gone before you. Started businesses in the garage, they're at the kitchen or dining room table. And it's a great time to do it. No matter what way the economy goes, or what's happening with all the craziness in politics, or what's happening around the world, and all this stuff and noise, and I get it, it's chaotic out there. But no matter what is going on, we're in a capitalist society. And it's always a good time to make money. If we can help, reach out. info@buildmyrebusiness.com. Please hear this. Again, I'm going to say it. You were born a genius and meant to be incredible success. You know how to do this. I'm going to talk especially to women now. You homemakers, moms, you're the best business people ever. You have the logistics down. You get inventory control, you finance a budget. You talk about doing everything with nothing. You're the stars of this whole show. So you've got this idea. I'm going to encourage you to take the leap. If you have any question, anything you want, email Lynn and I. Lynn will be happy to tell you how she built this business. I didn't do this by myself. You know why? Because no one succeeds alone. The best thing you can do is get with the primary relationship, get together and co-create. Co-creation is the highest form of evolution. Start with your spouse, your first team member. Get together and talk about your future. It's very, very bright. It's just a point of view. So what is your point of view? So stop staring at your shoes and get up and look up. And look around. Go find yourself a problem. Look for the opportunity. Find the niche. Do some market research. Do some lateral thinking. Figure out how big it is. And then leverage the hell out of it. That's it for today. Wednesdays with Wayne, brought to you by the Real Estate Business School, where you get your license and learn to use it. I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you again for your time. I hope you found it valuable. And we'll do our best to make sure your time is well spent. Let's go out and make it a better world. Thank you. See you next Wednesday. Bye.